quick little preface here. This is, I guess, kind of a remastered version of a live stream podcasty thing that I did with Caleb Ward at Curious Refuge earlier this week. We were both giving talks to the Hollywood Professional Association on AI. And, Caleb, myself and Shelby, we're a little YouTube family. So, it just made sense to quickly get together and impromptu try to do a live. The problem was we were just plagued by a technical nightmare. Wi-Fi was spotty at best, but the folks at SohoNet were kind enough to let us take over their booth and hardwire in. The problem is that basically we were then on a convention floor. Top that off with the mics clipping out, and the whole thing was a bit of a disaster. So if you did watch it live, I do apologize. That said, I think the conversation that Caleb and I end up having serves as a really interesting snapshot of, where AI is in Hollywood right now and where Hollywood is with AI. We also ended up with an impromptu guest, namely film composer Isy Lauf, who used AI tools in her latest project. So, we got a chance to discuss with her how AI is affecting film composers and scoring. And of course, there is a lot of discussion on Sora. So I did think it was a real shame that the audio was as mangled as it was. So when I got home, I just exported it and ran it up to Adobe Podcast to see if it would clean up. And sure enough, we ended up with some pretty decent audio. Now, I'm not going to call it studio quality, but it is definitely listenable and miles above what was originally recorded. So, and actually sort of illustrates the entire point of this whole thing, which is, an AI tool saving a discussion about AI tools. I have a full video on the trip coming up early next week, but in the meantime, let's jump in here. This is about 5 minutes into the live. You really didn't miss anything in the beginning except a bunch of people yelling at us in the comments the audio was terrible. I can't hear anything. The audio was terrible. So, okay, enjoy.
The takeaway is that everyone here is definitely thinking about AI, trying to figure out how to make it work in a production workflow. Because where we are is definitely not in a writer's area, actor's area, not in a director's very much. It's not a performance area. This is very much the technical backbone of Hollywood. So it's, Hanavision, it's Avid, it's Adobe's here. So it's definitely much more the folks that are, it's post-production. So, and I think these are the guys that really understand that leaning into AI is going to save them a lot of time. It's going to improve their workflows, and everyone's just trying to figure out how to make all of that happen. So,
I think you're totally right. I think for most people out here, it's the Wild West, and we're all learning this together. And it was really cool because I think people like, the Corridor team, Nico, and the folks that are going into Comfy UI, training their own custom LoRa models. I think that's a big appeal for a lot of folks out here, because obviously, whenever you're crafting a story, you want to have complete control over the art direction and everything that you're putting onto the final result. And, just going into Midjourney and trying to get consistency isn't ideal if you want to have a consistent character for the length of the feature-length film, right? So, talking about how to train custom models using the latest tech, which is still very clunky to use, what is very interesting.
that was the funny part too. Is so we had reeled in just after Sora dropped. And I was actually sort of surprised at the amount of people here that weren't aware of what Sora was.
Yeah.
Well, that they hadn't seen Sora yet. Hi, wait, if you want to come over, we're doing a live stream right now, so you are in front of people. This is what we're going to do. This is how unprofessional we are today. So this is Ivy. Ivy was a composer for, Izzy. I'm sorry. Yes, Izzy. She was a composer for a film that they showed before our presentation. So the idea was they did a traditional pipeline film, animated film, utilizing AI tools, and then Nico went up after and showcased an animated film that he did entirely with AI. Well, not entirely with AI tools, but close to entirely with AI tools. And then Izzy was the composer on the traditional pipeline film and utilized AI tools. Jared, come in, hang out. Yeah, there's our live stream in there. So what AI tools did you use in composing for the film?
So I actually played with, was it Aza? Yeah, AIBA. And I also played with AWS Deep Encoder. Mm-hmm. And that was for temp scoring. So essentially, in place, so is putting so like a Hans Zimmer track underneath, like an early cut of the sample, and then you have the director become attached to that Hans Zimmer piece,
Right.
and you can not live up to that, or it's not your style. That I've done is instead used AI and sort of trained it based on my own music, and then sort of set parameters around the videos in trying to achieve. So give it some of my music and this is what I want you to do, and then set the instrumentation and other elements to fit into the genre as if I'm trying to do.
Right.
So then that was about 80 episodes before I got to something where I was like,
you liked.
not distraught.
Okay.
And I thought was like, this is something that I could envisage myself maybe writing as a first draft.
Okay.
That kind of runs underneath the film. So I just put in different clips of that throughout as temp. And then once the vibe was improved, went ahead, deleted it all, and just my own music. So there was no AI in the front end.
Yes, correct. So AI was essentially used as a sketch pad for you, right? Like, okay. But it was a sketch pad that was trained on all of your material, like on things that you had written beforehand.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. And in your opinion, and in how closely did you think the sketch version, the AI sketch version, was to your version? How like I don't know, you can't really percentage like, oh, it's 80% of, of like the ideas in here that ended up in my final piece as opposed to
In terms of like how closely I wrote to the AI,
yes.
it was, if I had to give it a percentage, it would be maybe 20%. But it was more in terms of just sketching out general instrumentation, maybe tempo. It's very like big picture as opposed to small. So the way Ava works, at least in my experience, I've been using it about a month.
Okay.
While it does have the ability to select like a style of how you would structure, so it could be like song based, like verse, chorus, where you can go, maybe I want something a bit more long form that goes for up to, I think, 5 minutes or 3 minutes is the max.
What's that?
It still has a bit of a song form.
Right.
It seems to be sort of like ingrained in how they've developed it. So it doesn't always fit under the scene as you want it. Because, you've got like however many minutes of a film.
Right.
You need the whole thing. You need continuity, you need the themes, you need the variations. So there was no theme and variations really. So I developed a style which had all the parameters that I wanted. And then went like, okay, I'm happy with what it's producing now. Hit send, and here's a few little edits, and then it would produce her something that I was able to either use or discard.
Interesting. Okay.
So then, based on the vibe of how that came out, whether it was liked or not, then I was able to sketch out my own music, how I would have done it in that style. So it was two very separate things, as opposed to something I went like, I'm going to write something that sounds vaguely like this.
So now that you've used it, obviously on the artistic performance side, there is a lot of fear. I always kind of feel musicians are adapting much quicker to AI than other mediums. Now that you've used it, will you use it again in the future? Do you think that AI becomes an integral part, not an integral part, but do you think that it becomes a useful part of the songwriting, composing world?
I think it could be. I initially used it as a bit of like a thought experiment, given HPA is very much focused on, AI and how things develop these days. I think now that I've figured out how to use it, I will use it when I need something done quickly. I did like Ava. I won't say too much, but I'm wanting to develop my own theme specific to film.
Okay. And we beta tested.
Sure, I don't know when, but yeah, so I think AI definitely is going to become a part of my sort of process in terms of getting on the job quicker. And I think AI will be good for musicians or composers in that you're paid for the project usually. So the faster you can get the faster you get it done, the higher your hourly rate is. So I think I will use it. I will. For temp tracking, I like to keep the creative side of things separate to the AI and use it as more of a workflow tool.
Right.
But in terms of musicians adapting quicker, I think they are.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't talked too in depth with many people about it, but there is some fear. But AI hasn't really written very good melodies up until, well, not yet. So I don't feel too threatened. I think, you use it as something to supplement what you're doing instead of replace.
Yeah, I always joke that AI can't sit in a coffee shop with an acoustic guitar and play Wonderwall. Musicians, I always feel that is one thing. They always have live performance to fall back on.
And that was part of a conversation we were having yesterday as it relates to even AI film and how, as a society, whenever we go to watch a concert, it's a big event, right? Like people get excited and it's this big thing. And even the Barbenheimer experience that we had last summer kind of felt like you were going to a concert, but it was a movie experience. And a lot of that has shifted recently.
I felt
to where going to the movies feels like going to get a meal or something. It's like, what are you hungry for? And, oh no, there's that new horror film. Maybe go check it out. And I love the idea of integrating AI to assist musicians in just getting their work out there. And in the I guess it's not pre-visualization. It's what's the word for early temp tracks?
It's essentially audio pre-vis.
So audio pre-vis to help you get through some of those creative roadblocks.
But what I love about what you were saying too is that because in some stuff that I've done where I have created music for as temp, I do know what you're talking about when directors or client get attached to temp. Like they see it, they hear it over and over and over again, and eventually they hit this point and just like, that's what it should be. It was like, no, that was the temp track. But because your temp track is trained on you, it's going to sound like you when you go through and finalize the whole thing as well. I think that's actually really interesting,
Yep.
Yeah, and the other thing I like about it is it can produce, quite good music. And maybe if you weren't trained in music, you would listen to it and go, wow, like the human look, that sounds good.
Right.
Like I've spoken to people who are composers, much more experienced than I am, showing them what Ava and other things have developed. They go, yeah, like it's impressive that AI can do that, but it sounds clunky, or there's just there's nuances in how we orchestrate things that maybe you're not going to, like an AI that's been trained on Beethoven is not going to quite get, at least at this point. But yeah, so it's all very interesting and exciting. And
so I will be catching up with you guys later on because the Action team is everybody's still
some of us.
Okay, gotcha. I do want to catch up with all of you guys for a round table. We're not round table, but a big, that's going to be the big video. Hopefully at the end of the week or next week, covering the entire thing. Kristen, awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for
sharing your
yeah.
And where can people see your work online? I'm sure they'd love to check out Anika.
I have a website. It's, my goodness, I need to buy a domain again. It ran out. My name is Isy Lauf, so it's ISYLAUF.
And is that Ashen will be coming out, or what's
it will? It will. So we're planning on going for the festival run. We need to finish everything. We need to record. We're planning to do live music with it, right?
Oh, cool. That's cool.
And then once that's all finalized, we'll do a festival run, and then once that's done, we'll be able to release.
Awesome, cool.
Yeah.
So you guys get a breaking news story, but a movie that has not been released, and I will be, I guess, for a little bit. But now you know the name, Ashen. So yeah.
Oh, I think that was lovely. Yeah, you said it.
Well, I'll catch up with you later on too. So yeah, cool. Bye again. That's fun. Who will stop by next?
I know. I haven't watched some of the heads of Kubrick walk by.
Or did they really? I just talked. They were at our dinner last night. So it was Kubrick. We discussed very early on the channel, and then I had to apologize because I kept meaning to go back and talk to them again, and then AI everything being on slot. And I felt really bad because it's like
All right, it was yes, the person from Kubrick, and they're like sitting next to them at dinner. I'm just like, oh yeah, I haven't returned that email to you in like 8 months.
Oh no,
Yeah. Well, they were very cool about it. They were very, very nice.
yeah. How many tools reach out to you on a weekly basis? I'm so curious.
I mean, I would say roughly, I wake up to like 4 emails, reaching out to like, hey, do you want to try this? Every morning. Yeah. At minimum. So, yeah.
I love that. It's funny. Me and Tim, we joke because the amazing AI tools reach out to you, and you check them out. But also, there's like these weird online funnels for like weird products that are like like exercise bikes and stuff like that. They're like Tim, can you review an exercise bike on your channel? It doesn't make any sense. What you're talking about.
There was a Ginsu knife one. My favorite one that I got recently was and this was like semi-related, I guess, but it was an AI pool cleaner. And I don't even know what that means. It's a frill cleaner that has AI technology in it. Has AI affected the bike cleaning industry? I don't have a clue about it. What am I going to do with this?
I love that. I'm also a little terrified, which is I'm like, okay, wait, if they can put a pet cleaner and it's getting leaves, like what happens when that algorithm changes that it's humans or dogs?
Where's the Roomba AI, but it's just going to come after you with knives? Yeah, I don't know. I do not know. Let's see. Let's see. Do we want to go?
What's that? Sora. Okay. So you talked about Sora the other day. You had an interesting theory. I don't know if you want to share it.
Sure.
Yeah, some of the underlying architecture of what's offering.
It wasn't necessarily my theory. Of course, I ended up picking it up off of somebody in one of the feeds. But the thought was that the faces looked very metahuman. It was primarily Unreal that was underneath that. So the level of like trained on Unreal. Somebody else had pointed out the walk cycles, particularly with the footage of people walking in Tokyo, was just a little too straight. Like it was, like people don't naturally move in a direct line like that. So, and I've heard that theory to a couple of people around here. They seem like obviously none of us have any idea what the underlying technology in Sora is. Yeah. There does seem to be like very, very smart people are like, something's a little bit fishy there.
I think I don't disagree with you. I think there definitely could be this 3D model with a skin over it that's AI rendered.
Yeah, that's
which when we're talking about the future of filmmaking, and I do think a big part of it is we'll call it photorealistic upresing, or like almost a filter that you can put on Unreal Engine assets or whatever to make them into what would be indistinguishable from reality. I think it's really interesting, and it does echo. I was listening to an interview with the Island Podcast. I don't know if you know. So I was listening to last week's, and Dave Friedberg was talking about how he's been doing a lot of conversations behind closed doors about this type of technology, and that the Unreal Engine powering the upresing nicer quality seems to be in line with where the industry might be heading for the underlying architecture of these tools.
So here's my question to you. Do you think that we will see Sora? Do you think that we will see a release of it at some point?
Of course. And the reason why is, and I love that OpenAI is being so intentional and ethical about releasing this, because I think you need to when you have something that's this revolutionary. But what I think is going to force their hand a bit is other tools are not. Once they get quality that's anywhere close, they're going to want to release it to compete and stay relevant.
Yeah.
And so I think that their hand is going to be forced here in about 3 to 6 months to release it. Now, we both know ChatGPT or DALL-E is really limited in working and sometimes that can be challenging if you're working on a film with a specific creative direction. And so I think the same might be true with Sora. So I'm curious about how they address the limitations, because as a filmmaker, of course, we all want to have as much customization as possible of our work. So that will be a kind of annoying.
Yeah, just like my speculation, and again, this is just total speculation, is that we're not going to see a publicly released model until after November. That they will want to wait till, I don't get political on the channel, but I think that they do want to wait until after the election. I believe that would be probably wise.
Good point.
But I think that you'll still see use cases out of it. It'll basically be in, a locked room that they will invite filmmakers, creatives, and that can play with it. They'll continue to sort of hone and train the model. But I don't think that we'll actually see a full release of it until after November.
Yeah, you might be right. And again, I'm curious though, because we know that the folks at Runway, the folks at Pika, all of these incredible video generators, they're not going to stop working.
No.
Right. If anything, they're more motivated to ship stuff into more harder. And so I think that it will be interesting, once we start seeing Gen 3 or Pika 2.0, or I guess 3.0. I think 2.0 was their website experience. I'm not entirely sure.
No.
But I think it's going to be really interesting around November. Yeah, I think we're going to have at least 3 really good options.
The best part of my presentation yesterday, by the way, was the fact that it all kind of hinged around like the running thread in Joe, because I was sort of doing the history of AI video and where we are now. And the kind of the through line was Will Smith eating spaghetti. And I woke up to Will Smith, I'm sure everyone has seen the post that Will Smith did where he is eating spaghetti. And I woke up and I was just like, thank you, Will Smith. Thank you. Here's the cherry to the top of my presentation. But the best part about it was that I saved that to the end. So I had already hit Sora, and then I went into Will Smith eating spaghetti. And for a split second, no one in the audience, like they weren't sure. They were not sure at all.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was watching, I knew it was fake.
Yeah.
But I was like, did Will Smith put in 1 or 2 shots that were fake in there? Because and I mean, I was still having trouble figuring it out.
There is 1 or 2 shots where I was like, I'm not sure if that is like AI generated.
Yeah.
Do you want to see if anybody, do we have questions?
I saw one question here in the comments. Someone asked, do you get the sense that Sora is going to be for big corporate clients, or will they release it to the average user? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Like I was saying, I think that we will see behind closed doors, some representative of OpenAI standing like this, over someone's shoulder as they're prompting. I will see that on maybe corporate or well, I don't think corporate side, but I don't think they're going to necessarily be doing like Pepsi ads or anything like that with it. But I think it'll be more filmmakers and creatives that will create short things. And then, like I said, I think in November, we will see a version of it. It probably will have a lot of guardrails on it. And from some of the stuff we've seen, this is one where I'm like, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
totally get it.
You need to have guardrails. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Within a year, 18 months from now, average open source tools will likely have Sora quality. I would imagine.
Yes.
And so, these are, even if they put in the guardrails in the next 9 months, 18 months from now, it's literally prompt to really impressive video.
Which, we've had a couple of discussions here about what that is. We're talking with Nico last night at dinner.
Is that a flex?
He's off. He's so mean. Like, all he did was like he just berated me the entire time and pitching me. It's awful. It's an awful person.
That's a joke. Yeah, the way I feel like
he's a lovely person. We are BFFs now. Talking with he's obviously an extremely talented visual effects artist, and we were talking about some of the ways that Sora could potentially be used in harmful ways, like creating let's just say fake 9/11 footage or something, something like that, like something awful and terrible, with the intent of going viral with it and creating a stir. And he was like, yeah, but I could do all of that stuff 5 years ago as well. I could create something. It would just take me long. Yeah, it's all exactly. So, but he was like, I could do something completely photorealistic that could go viral and fool people. It would just take me a lot longer, and you'd probably have to spend more money. So it's not new. None of this is new.
No, none of this is new. I think that it will be really interesting to see how everyday artists begin to contextualize this, because I do think the conversation is always around the misinformation, which I think is we need to be having this conversation.
Yeah, sure.
Completely.
I need to be having this conversation like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
that's
exactly. But I do think that at the same time, this is going to unlock a lot of opportunities for people. Yes. And so it's simultaneously this balance of, you don't want to empower people to just spread misinformation. And I think the main way in which you do that is put in AI systems that can find AI content in social media applications, like the generator tools, whether it's Midjourney or Dolly, anything else, needs to be directly piplined into social media to recognize content that's created on those platforms. Sure, I believe. But at the same time, as a society, as really just the human race moving forward, I think we have the mandate to empower as many people as possible to tell their stories. So it's such a balance.
Speaking of security, I did talk to the guys at Adobe yesterday on the C2 FA. I think it's called the digital watermarking to that. I while OpenAI is involved in it, Adobe is, and it's this sort of the idea of coming together with and creating a security system that would be able so that you'll be able to tell if something is AI generated, right? So a question that had come up on the channel is that if I just take a screen recording of that video, then does that wipe out, of course, the metadata? Or if I take my source files, run it through Premiere, export something, say lay it off to tape or something like that, metadata no longer exists. So talking to them, apparently there will be Pixar like router marking other like that we will not be able to see by the human eye, and that will so we'll be able to essentially tell if something is AI generated or not. And apparently what they've developed is so good that even if you were doing a cell phone recording of a video, that pixel will still be visible. So
wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, and I think that stuff is necessary. Yeah.
We got like 15 more minutes or so. Any other questions? Anybody got questions out there? Oh, we got a riff for a little while.
I do think I saw another question up here. It's about Sora again.
Okay.
So, let's talk about the new news that we saw today.
Okay.
Elon came out and said that Midjourney might be introduced into Grok. What do you think about that? And it seems like he's maybe trying to create a bit of a OpenAI ChatGPT Dolly competitor.
Sure. Interesting. I don't know how that is necessarily. I don't know what it buys, in all honesty. Like, I don't know why. I don't know. It's fine. I mean, I'm all for it, I guess. We were both on Twitter. I don't see myself / imagining on Twitter. Like, at this point, we've done, the website, which hopefully most of you are on now, it's down to 1,000 generations, and then you can use the website now. It's just so much more of a pleasant experience. Like going and generating on Twitter to me feels like going back to Discord.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what it buys. I understand the announcement. I haven't really I have not had time to really conceptualize it or anything. But what do you think? What's your?
Well, I'm curious. What is Twitter exactly?
Sorry. X. I apologize. Yes.
Yeah. No. I agree. I think for the average person, using let's say Midjourney right now. / Matt, like you set it all up. It can be a bit of a process that I don't think the average person is willing to do. I think completely the average person can set this up, but it delayed gratification, whatever.
Right.
So I think going into a tool like Twitter to generate an image as almost a replacement to going to the Midjourney platform or to Discord, I think could be helpful for people. And, if they just need some sort of really interesting image for their friend or whatever. And I'm sure like sending memes and things like that to your friend, and you're like,
there's also like something that at least David is super into from Midjourney. Like the meme aspect of it, I feel like he's I think he would. I think he every time I've heard him, he just tends to be much higher level and esoteric and sort of like aesthetic about stuff. And I see what you're saying there. I can see it as sort of like Midjourney Lite, kind of an entryway. Because even currently, I do think that as something that I learned about Midjourney, and it sometimes gets a little frustrating about it. Is like there has been a significant amount of feature creep in it. Like there's you can do a lot of stuff, which is great, but sometimes it's overwhelming. There really isn't kind of a logical path to get there. By the way, I talked to Leonardo.ai today, and we talked about their UI as well. They're aware. They are there.
Yeah. And it seems it's almost inevitable because what we were talking about, having the ability to fully customize your outputs is a big part of elevating these tools to a level in which the HPA would be really interested in using it on a project. And inevitably more customization means more tools, more controls, all of these things. So it's similar, I would say, like the difference between using Canva and using Photoshop. Right. It's one is, you need full customizable controls. The other one really tries to make it as easy as possible. These both are fantastic and have their own use cases, but one can be more helpful in some cases.
And like it's that ease of use too. I talked to Fondant, which we covered on the channel a while back. That was a sort of a 3D scene generator. Does your skybox? You have rotational controls. It's Blender but generative. But the UI is very Blendery. And I think that if you know Blender, why do I need to use this? So it's I think a lot of the new tools are going to have to figure out. I don't want to say simplistic UIs, but UIs that are welcoming to people and easy to understand, but then have that layer underneath it of like the complexity that we all want and need. So I'm not mad at that. So,
Yeah, I'm not mad. And I do really respect what companies like Runway are doing. Like Runway's trying to set it up to where you can go from literal idea all the way to final product inside of a single platform.
Right.
And I love that. And in many ways, I feel like Adobe is more than likely trying to do the same thing. Yeah. And I like that experience for a user to not have to learn 20 different tools, subscribe to 20 different things, right? Like I do like having a standalone app. But the problem is it's just so hard when you get into a project and, let's say it's, a specific shot and it doesn't look so good in Runway, but then the Pika one is really good. You're like, I want to go over here. And so it's like, as creatives, we want to have maximum creative options. And so we end up hopping around to all the different tools. But
the passion part of it is like the best part as well. And that's something that I was trying to hone in on my talk yesterday is like, this stuff is not industry standard. And that's a good thing. Like this is the best time to be playing with these tools because there are no rules and you can bash things together. I do think that we will see the all-in-one platform happening sometime this year, where you can take a project from beginning to end. I think it's going to be a great thing. I do think that I think most of us will still want the ability to take segments out of that and bash it together as well. You know what I mean? So otherwise, everything does start to get that homogenized kind of like, it looks like a Marvel movie because that's the Marvel machine. Or it looks like, an Unreal game because that's the engine, So,
I totally agree. Let's see if we have some other questions here.
Yes, feel free to shoot some questions. I think we got to hop into another stream in a little bit, but
what is currently the best generative video solution for temporal movement consistency? Runway, Pixburst, UI, like a shot of a person running that doesn't fall apart. So what's your favorite tool for just videos that are just getting super janky there by the end?
That's a good question. That is a good question. To be honest, I think that you're not looking at text to video. At that point, you're looking at video to video. At that point, you're not talking about image to video. You're talking about video to video, like something like using Kyber or stylization passes over pre-rendered video. Shoot Caleb, green screen them out on run them through. I get type any one of them really. It's like that was my take. Yeah.
Well, and it's really great seeing Nico's talk yesterday in AI rotoscoping. So tools like the Runway, automatic rotoscoping tool, are a really integral part of what they do. They shoot almost everything on a green screen, see it out, and then stylize the person, and then put them in some sort of background or composite them onto live action footage. So I do agree with you on that. I think from my tests, from what I've seen, some of the lesser known tools are actually a little better for temporal consistency. So I would say Pixburst actually, I think it might be a little more stable for big movements compared to Runway or Pika.
Right.
Sometimes you get lucky with Runway and Pika, and it's just the luck of the roll sometimes, and you'll run 10 generations, and one of them just so happens to be amazing. It's kind of part of using AI, honestly. It's because you're dealing with literal static and seed numbers and all that stuff. It's part of it. But I would say probably Pixar's for me.
But I think it's using that. I think that's using stable video. That's been my take from it. So
So a stable video classic. I feel like every time I run something through stable video, it's that like little
just scaring off into the distance.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which I did make fun of in the presentation yesterday. But it's that's just where we are right now. We're breaking out of that. And yeah, I think that we will see this year. I think this year we will finally really truly put trailers of people staring longingly into the distance behind us and move into actually making movies. I feel that at least December 2024, we'll be seeing at least 22 to possibly longer, 22-minute to longer fully AI generated movies.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. And it's interesting because there is the idea of like a fully AI generated movie. Like AI can generate a script, it can generate storyboard, like it can do all this stuff. And so plugging all those things together doesn't take a logical leap to feel like that could create a story. What I think is far more interesting is laying a foundation that someone goes in and edits, and it's like this back and forth process, like multimodal conversational experience that we have with ChatGPT right now. So it does seem to me like that's probably a big part of where we're going.
I do think so. As long as you're always able to have, the ability to edit, and the ability to go in and tweet, and basically act as a director. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I don't think that's going away. That's been. Anything else? Do you have any questions?
Maybe one last question here. Where can I learn a green screen video to video workflow using AI?
Let's see. I haven't done one recently. Have you?
I have not, so that means that next week. That means that Tim is going to do it because he's faster than me. I think Corridor probably has done a few breakdowns of the rock paper scissors breakdown actually.
Yes.
That used green screen, and I believe if you're subscribed to their Corridor crew.
Don't give them commercials.
No, I think that they do a more in-depth technical breakdown.
They do, yeah. I loaded that. I will definitely do one soon as well. That's actually an area that I'm very interested in, and I think that I'd like to explore more through this year as well. So yeah, coming soon.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Sam, thank you so much for having me on the live stream, man.
You hosted it, it was great. Oh no, this was easy for me. I love this. I love having a guest host. Sure, because it just means that I get to show on and hang on. So yeah.
Well, we're gonna hop over to the Curious Refuge live stream and Discord. If you guys are in there, feel free to hop on. We'll keep nerding out over all the cool tech.
Yeah. And then tacos tonight, I think. We have tacos tonight.
Let's do it.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks.